Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we'll be diving deep into most important and essential Linux terminal commands. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced user, mastering these commands would be essential and crucial for your navigation and full control over the Linux environment for effective use. For the scope of this video, we will only be talking about 8 commands because I want to dive deep into their functionality thoroughly. Before we begin, for beginners, I would definitely recommend checking out a web browser emulator for Linux and Unix, which is called as Terminal Temple. You should definitely go there to get a feel for the Linux environment before you start to install anything on Windows. Otherwise, if you're a Ubuntu user, great. But yeah, for beginners who have Windows 11 or 10, you can definitely set up Windows subsystem for Linux on your system. As of now, currently I am using the same, so definitely you can do that. Highly recommend. Okay, let's get started. First of all, we will be talking about the ls command. So you just type ls and then you just type enter to execute the command. So ls command is one of the most frequently used commands on Linux. As you would get started, you would be frequently using this command. As you navigate across multiple files and directories, if you want to understand what the contents are, you would definitely be using the ls command. It basically allows you to understand what the contents are in simple terms. While there are also other parameters associated with this, you should definitely know those too. If you type ls-l, you would get to see that there are other associated information with regards to demo file and mkdir, which are located in the current working directory YouTube. So it allows you to see extra detailed information such as file permissions, the size of the files, as well as the last date of modification. If you also want to show all the files in your directory, you can type ls-a. So you see that there are two files which are hidden, which are dot and two dots, obviously, but these are configuration files which you won't be using much, but having a familiarity of these it's good to know. Similarly, if you want to store this verbose information in a human readable format, you will type ls-lh. And definitely you can see that the information has been made a little bit more human readable, but that's about it. As of now, you will be wondering, I have a file directory called YouTube. If I type pwd, which is the print working directory, it will show you the full path of the current directory. This is helpful whenever you are in a complex file systems and you want to know what's your exact location. It basically returns the absolute path from the root to the current location. So the root is the home, and where you are currently located at is YouTube. It is simple and powerful and helps us to understand where we are in the system. So whenever you are navigating across a complex system, you will be executing this particular command. Whereas let's move on to the next one. So mkdir is for making directories or folders. It can create new directories, and you can also create more other directories as well using this, which I will demonstrate shortly. So you type mkdir test, create a folder called test ls, and you see that that folder has been created. But for example, if I want to create another folder or 2 or 3 more folders within test, you can just simply type test then test1, same test2, and test3, and let's see if they have been created. So as of now, you don't see it because these 3 files, test1, 2, and 3, are basically inside the folder called test. So now you want to see those files. So what command you would be using? So for that, you would be using another command called cd, or change directory. cd basically allows you to navigate across directories and you can basically move from one to another. So let's type cd test. So now the current working directory has been changed to YouTube/test. So as I mentioned, I made 3 folders called test1, test2, and test3. If I type ls, let's say ls, all the files, la, you can see that the files have been created. So this is pretty handy in order to make a sub project or a sub directory within a larger parent directory. You definitely will use mkdir in that sense. Interestingly enough, if you want to move back one more level up onto your present working directory, in this case I want to move back to my YouTube directory, you will be using cd dot dot. So as you can see, I have moved back up one level. Sometimes if you are navigating through complex directories, you would be using another parameter attached to the cd command, which is a tilde symbol, cd followed by a tilde symbol with a space in between. So when you do that, you basically go back to the root. So if you are lost and you don't know which place you are at and you want to go back to the root, you basically type cd. But in this case, I want to go back to the test folder. Okay, yeah, another thing is that you always have to start your if you want to move across files, you would always do this cd dot hyphen. So let's move to the next one. Since I have created several of these folders and I want to remove these folders, I would basically be using a command called remove directory command, which basically removes these empty directories. If your directory contains files, then this command won't work. But before I jump into that, let's demonstrate rmdir. So rmdir test2, I suppose. So if I execute that and type ls, you see that file has been removed. Let's try to remove the contents of the test folder itself. If I try to do rmdir test, it will give you a message called test cannot be removed. This failing because it has contents. But since we know that those contents are redundant, you will basically use another command called rm. It only removes empty directories, rm, if you just, let's move back into test. If I try to remove rm test3, yeah, so this won't work with rm. If you try to remove a directory with rm, it won't work. But if you try to remove rm with this parameter rm-r and the folder, won't give you that message. But when you try to see the contents of test, you see that it has been removed. So this command is pretty handy if you try to remove recursively, like several files which are located within the same folder which are redundant. If you try rmr test, if you try to do that naturally with rmdir, it will give you an error. Same with rm, it won't be able to do that. But if you type rm/r test, it will remove the files. So we are back to square one. We have demo file and mkdir. The rm file is usually used to remove empty text or redundant text files, but that's for another day. Right now we can try to make a new file called demo text file. So let's try to create a new demo text file. So there are two ways of doing this. If you want an empty file called demo.txt, you will do demo.txt followed by text. So if you do that and type ls, you see that the demo.txt has been created, but we know that it is empty. So one way of doing extra adding information would be with the help of cat. So this is called as the concatenate command, but it also has other uses. So if you do demo.txt and type hi, hola, yes, how are you, viewer? Bye. Now you are stuck in this. And now if you want to move back or move out, or if you want to escape this, you will press Control and D twice. And when you do that, depending on your system, it will sometimes work once if you press these two together. But now you are outside that command structure. Let's see ls. Let's say ls-ln. You see that the content has been created. And if you want to list out the content of demo.txt, you type cat demo.txt. So you can see that the files, the text file that we had written has been printed back onto the terminal. Similarly, there are other commands also which allows you to copy certain files and directories from one location to other. So for that you use cp. It essentially allows you to duplicate files and move them across directories. Let's say if you want to copy cp demo.txt into demo into let's say empty dir, which would be no longer empty. And let's say if you move into empty dir and perform ls, yes, you see that the file content is there. Demo.txt has been copied to this particular location. Let's say if you do this again, you can also copy entire directories. Let's say if you want to copy recursively the contents of demo file into empty dir, let's say cp, you again perform slash -r, it's not slash -r, with the name of the file, demo file, and empty dir. Let's say we do this, and we move, try to display the contents of empty dir. You see that the file demo.file and the contents of demo.file have been copied into it. So yeah, this basically allows you to copy the files from one location to other without altering the content. Yeah, so pretty interestingly enough, you can also do other stuff as well. For example, let's say if you create a new file called test.txt file alone, and let's say if you want to copy this with certain other information listed along with it while you are moving into a particular location, you can basically use cp -v and the file which you are moving or copying into empty dir. So that's possible. So when you do that, you will see that that message has been printed out like test.txt has been moved into empty dir. So that's possible as well. Another command, as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned moving. So you can also do moving with another file with another command called mb. So let's say mb. Okay, for this example, I would like to create a new directory called moving. So let's say you want to moving into demo file. So let's say mv moving demo file. So let's move into demo file. You see that file has been moved, but in one another thing is you can also rename certain files with this example. Let's create a touch. Okay, let's say touch file.txt, and now you want to move it back to the YouTube working directory. You can basically do file.txt home. Always remember, when you're typing, you should know the full path. Otherwise, there's also another trick called putting a dot before the directory. This basically acts uh, as a placeholder, where it assumes this the full path, and you want to move something. Yeah. So in this case, let's say I have created a file.txt and I want to rename it and also move it to the YouTube directory location. You type let's say newer file, I guess. So newer file.txt. Okay, let me try that again. Yeah. So yeah, I do not know why that happened, but some certain systems that usually works out. So let's try to move back a level up, and let's yeah. So you can see that newer file, which has been renamed, has been moved from the previous location to the new location. So this is possible, and since that's about it for today. So that gives you a very basic understanding about what kind of Linux commands are there, but you have to master these in order to get comfortable and start working with the Linux environment more efficiently. Whether you would be creating directories or text files, or moving these files or renaming them across directories, you should definitely get started on this. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. And yeah, that's about it. So let's see you in the next video with certain other interesting commands. Thank you for your time, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.